we're back with the Twab. There are so many changes coming to Lightfall that we got a teaser yesterday for the Twab, and this is the actual Twab. It's a very long Twab, so let's just jump right into it. This week at Bungie, we're talking sandbox news, matchmaking, and we're getting amped for Neptune. Before we jump into this week's Twab, let's do a brief recap of what went down in last week's blog post for anyone that may have missed it. Grandmaster changes, including power level, Iron Banner update after week 1 with Fortress, including the change to frequency. Iron Banner will be available 3 weeks each season. We got our Oprah Winfrey on with armor mods, focusing costs in this economy, Doggo behind the scenes looks, and some good news about the goodest of good boys stays in Destiny 2. An important Bungie store update. So if you haven't checked that out, go do that, but not right now. Right now we've got this week's Twab to dive into. For this week, we're diving a little deeper into the shiny new trailer that just dropped, highlighting a deep dive with Bungie developers into upcoming build crafting changes, and chatting about matchmaking, weapon and ability changes, and more. So without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Friendly reminder from our player security team. Some people whose accounts were banned have said that they don't remember cheating or having any sort of cheat software on their platform of choice. Anytime we investigate these cases, both recent and in the past, we often find that they gave their account to someone else to play the game for them. Because of this, we want to again remind everyone that you must protect your account and do not use account recovery services. Saying that your fingers were not on the keyboard when cheating occurred will not be considered during the thorough appeal process. Get in, Guardian, we're going to Neo Muna. Can you smell what the Neptune is cooking? Okay, so that doesn't make sense, and we all know I'm no Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but we do have an epic if we say so ourselves, which we are saying so ourselves right now. New trailer showing off more of the upcoming Neptunian adventure with Lightfall. That trailer was insane. There was a lot of stuff in that trailer, so make sure to go check that out. Lightfall is almost here. I still can't believe it. The chance to swoosh around like some sort of undying cyberpunk inspired Spider-Man will be here before you know it. We're excited to show you more about Cloud Strider Strand and the brand new location to explore. For now, can we just take a second to appreciate those sweet slow-mo shots, because those are dope. Bob the Guardian Builder and the evolution of build crafting. Build crafting, it's a massive part of Destiny, but it's also an ever-evolving component to what it means to be a Guardian. That's always ready for what's next. For those that may have missed it, the team shared a more in-depth look at how build crafting has evolved and what it will look like in the near future, particularly with anti-champion systems, the new loadout system, and more. So what was talked about exactly? Glad you asked. Here's a simplified breakdown for those looking to learn more about specific topics. Loadouts and mod customization, consolidate, how the system has evolved and what areas the team wanted to address first, how the mod customization screen will operate, champions, new ways to counter champions including via subclasses. That's right, we're fine-tuning every single mod, reduction in pressure on armor energy by tweaking armor mod costs and how artifact perks fit in, how build crafting is changing in match game, how elemental wells are changing, and a brief look at the road ahead. If you haven't checked this out, you can read all about what's new, what's changing, and how feedback played a role here. For those interested in learning even more, we'll be featuring more standalone articles like this in the coming weeks. You know to keep Twabs not novel length. Rumble returns, catalysts are changing, exotic glaive goodness, and more. As we race towards Lightfall's release next month, we've got a few updates that we've excited to share. As a small preview, we're talking about red borders, dredging gilding, Rumble's back, blues woes, year 3 catalyst, and glaive exotic crafting. Let's dive in. Red border drop rates. On January 18th, which is yesterday, a change went live in-game that makes it easier for players to get the red borders they crave in all raids with craftable weapons and in the duality dungeon. Stay tuned for additional info about weapon crafting changes in Lightfall in the coming weeks. We just released a video on that, and I think this is a great change and allows for everyone to get all the red borders that they can if they grind for it before Lightfall comes. Faster dredging title gilding. Rather than requiring 30 gambit wins to gild the dredging title, we are changing it to 50 match completions with a bonus credit for wins. At a minimum, this reduces the number of wins needed by 5, and most players will require a significantly fewer to get to where they are trying to be Title Town. Regarding what is planned for upcoming patches, Bye blues. At soft cap, it's happening. Starting with next week's patch, after you reach a soft gear cap, blue engrams will stop dropping in the world. Whenever that would have happened, and that equivalent amount of additional glimmer baubles will spray out instead. We're also adjusting all other gunsmith reputation gains by 25% to compensate for removing gunsmith reputation from dismantling blue gear. We may not have caught every single blue engram in the game, but a vast majority should behave this way. If you find a source that will still give a blue item, please report it to help forum so we can squash. This is also a great change. Some people have been asking for this for like a year now, and it's great that they have finally gotten rid of it. In response to player feedback, we're bringing Rumble back to the Crucible screen as a permanent fixture and removed it as a rotator in the next patch. There are more exciting Crucible changes coming with Lightfall, so stay tuned. Year 3 Catalyst Evolution. The Catalyst quest for Year 3 Season Pass exotics, Ariana's Vow, Symmetry, Tommy's Matchbook, and Witherhoard will now benefit from the Season Pass boost like other exotic Catalyst quests. Additionally, any seasonal ritual playlist activity will count toward ritual progress for all Season Pass exotic Catalyst quests. This is finally something good regarding the past Catalyst run. You had to do like so many strikes without the buff from the Season Pass, and if you got these exotics after they were the seasonal exotic, it was a horror to even try to get the catalyst for these. So this is a great change. Easier exotic glaive crafting. Did you know there are class specific craftable exotic glaives? We're adjusting the quest need to receive them to only require one portion of each weapon pattern from the Wellspring weapon, as well as ensuring the first drop to each daily Wellspring weapon will have deep sight. Once you unlock the recipe for the first exotic glaive, the other class recipes can be purchased by your characters from the evidence board. This is also another great change. I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I still don't have one exotic glaive, and it probably took me 30-40 hours or more to get the other two. Save the date at dawn we raid. Oh man, you're going to love the new raid, especially the part where, man, they're teasing us like this, bro. Come on. Save the date, folks. We're doing it live on March 10th at 9 a.m. PST, which is the second Friday in March. Another world's first. Who's going to take the win this time? Who knows? But we do know we have some delicious popcorn ready to watch Guardians from all over the world shoot their shot at earning the coveted world's first belt. We need to talk about matchmaking. Oh boy. We're experimented a lot of various matchmaking tools through the years to help make PvP more enjoyable for all. Earlier last year, we spoke about what the team had in their sights for future changes. With those goals in mind, we've got the Destiny 2 ritual teams and the sandbox teams here to go over a few things like matchmaking, abilities, and weapon tweaks. First, let's look at matchmaking. Destiny 2 rituals team. In previous TWABs, we have talked about our goals to make the Crucible an accessible and fair activity for all players, and how we plan to accomplish those goals with matchmaking. In Season 18, we added a loose form of skill-based matchmaking to Control. We gathered data, reviewed the analytics, and adjusted the matchmaking configs, establishing the foundation of Season 19's matchmaking for Quick Play, Iron Banner, and competitive 3v3. In Season 19, we added Fireteam-based matchmaking, and as before, we will continue reviewing the analytics and player feedback to adjust our configs as necessary. Fireteam-based matchmaking is the first step towards enabling a fair playing field for fireteams of all sizes, and eliminating the needs for freelance modes. As we grow more confident in our settings, expect to see fewer freelance nodes beginning with Iron Banner. We know that it may seem a little jarring written out in text like that, but this is a part of the process for long-term goals that will improve the experience across the board. After we've given sufficient data on this from players and from internal systems, we will extend the Fireteam matchmaking feature to trials and eventually competitive 3v3. I don't know about this one, man. Freelance is the only way I can get away from versing 6 stacks, so I don't know how this is gonna play out. Once we have ironed out the kinks associated with Fireteam-based matchmaking, the next feature on deck is Dynamic Skill Matchmaking. As mentioned before, this feature is geared towards improving matchmaking if you are in a low population skill bracket or during a particularly low population time. This is all to say we are aware of the current status of matchmaking, and we are currently working towards improving our features and system. We believe we are on the right track, and we would like to share some of the data that makes us believe as much. One such data point is match outcome prediction. We use a particular algorithm that considers multiple variables to predict the outcome of a given match, where 50% prediction is accuracy is considered ideal. This would mean both teams are evenly matched and we are able to determine the winner based on statistics alone. The graph below figure A displays a prediction accuracy for Control before and after Season 18. When we introduce loose skill-based matchmaking, the drop in accuracy is a strong indicator that our current implementation of skill-based matchmaking is headed in the right direction. Additionally, the following graph, figure B, displays our prediction accuracy for Glory pre-Season 19 and competitive 3v3 Season 19. The upper lines are the main Glory and competitive activities, while the bottom lines are the freelance variants. With Season 19, we adjusted the skill bands for matchmaking in competitive, leading to a significant drop in prediction accuracy, i.e. matches are becoming fair. Note that there is still a strong discrepancy between the main node and freelance. This shows it's more difficult to produce fair matches with fire teams due to the immeasurable advantages that a fire team possesses: communication, team composition, team synergy, etc. However, this is why we are testing fire team based matchmaking. We aim to reach a point where matches in the main node where mixed fire team sizes can queue together reach levels of fairness comparable to the Freelance node, at which point we can confidently shelve Freelance node. So this is something that's going to happen regardless, it seems like, just because they have data collected, but I think Freelance is still a great option. I don't want to verse 6 stacks in Iron Banner. Hopefully this provides some insight into our efforts to make the Crucible a fair, accessible, and fun experience for all players. This is an ongoing process, so please pardon the dust as we build toward a better future. I think from Control, from Rumble, from everything like that, they should take away skill-based matchmaking, fireteam matchmaking, all of that completely out. You have stuff like Iron Banner where ranked mode is there. And you even have comp. Comp has this ranked mode, so set up comp as the skill-based matchmaking or fireteam skill matchmaking. But normal hubs, as you would say, for like Control or Rumble, should just be no skill-based matchmaking, or very loosely at that. And I know that I think they made it more loose than before, but they really need to ease up on that a little bit more, I think. Let's chat airborne effectiveness. Airborne effectiveness, weapons, abilities. Oh my, for the second Twab of the year, we're diving back into the world of sandbox goodness with the team to learn about what's next for Destiny 2 regarding combat, movement, and more. Take it away, D2 Sandbox team. We introduced the airborne effectiveness system in Season 17 to give us levers to balance weapon effectiveness while airborne in a consistent and comprehensive way. We did this in preparation for a sandbox that's introducing more airborne gameplay options, particularly with the Strand subclass in Lightfall. We had two primary reasons for this. It's important to balance the increased number of airborne movement options against their combat effectiveness, as we don't want Destiny 2 to shift excessively toward airborne gunplay over time. In a game where most modes do not have skill-based matchmaking, players using an airborne playstyle could be extremely oppressive. The first reason remains true, but the second has become less relevant as SBMM has rolled out across more PvP modes, and despite achieving our goals, the cost in player fun was too high. After observing for a season, we made some updates in each subsequent weapon balance update, while starting on a larger network in Lightfall. We've been playtesting these changes for a while now and are confident we can safely pull them into the Season 19 mid-season balance update. Airborne effectiveness affects the following aspect of weapons. These affect both mouse and keyboard as well as controller unless otherwise noted. Auto aim, aka bullet bend, corrects bullet towards the target within the auto aim cone. Precision angle threshold controls how far away you can be from a head and still get a headshot instead of a body shot from auto aim. Magnetism, aka reticle friction and adhesion, controller only, slows down your reticle when it passes over a target. Accuracy, controls how much bullet spreads out with repeated firing. Spread angle, pellet shotguns only, controls the width of shotgun spread pattern. With this update, you can expect the primary weapon with no investment, i.e. at the default AE stat of the weapon, to be as accurate, shoot just as straight, as the primary weapon with the Icarus grip mod equipped did before the introduction of AE. The auto aim angle is also significantly improved and the magnetism penalty has been eliminated. Instead of relying on accuracy and aim assist penalties, we're requiring more precision to land crits while airborne. This means your gun will behave more like they do when grounded, especially that you must aim right at the head to get a headshot unless you really build for airborne gameplay. One side effect of this change is that airborne gameplay on controller should feel better than ever before with moderate investment, since we've reduced the airborne magnetism penalty below what was in the game before AE. We still want it to be easy to build into AE with special weapons, but we believe we have space to reduce the penalties on shotguns and sniper rifles. We may revisit this later. In playtesting, this makes baseline airborne gameplay feel substantially better and building into higher AE feels more rewarding. Specifics: primary weapons, aim assist. Reduce all additional primary weapon auto aim bullet bend penalties by approximately 60% at 0 AE for both mouse and keyboard and controller. Increase the precision angle, how far off a head target you can be and still have auto aim, giving you a headshot instead of a body shot, by 50% at 100 AE, changing the curve to be exponential so you'll get more benefit at high AE for M&K and controller. Removed all additional primary weapon magnetism, reticle friction, penalties, and at 60 to 100 AE you get a magnetism bonus compared to pre-AE for controller only. Reduce airborne accuracy penalty for all weapons per weapon type. Hand cannon, sidearm 60%. Auto rifle, scout, pulse, SMG 20%, bows by 30%. Special weapons, sniper rifles and slug shotguns reduce base airborne accuracy penalty by 50%. Pellet shotguns fully removed airborne accuracy penalty. Weapon types. SMGs have long been heavily developed on the range stat to be competitive. SMGs with a high range stat easily outclass all other SMGs in low range auto rifles and hand cannon. We recently made a change that brought these higher range options more in line, but the difference between them and other SMGs was still too large, and some special case offenders that could hit nearly maximum range were still a bit too strong. As such, we have made a large improvement to SMG performance at lower range values, combined with a small decrease at the higher range values. General. Increased damage and aim assist fall off start at 0 range by 30%. Reduced damage and aim assist fall off started at 100 range by 6%. Adaptive SMGs lagged behind lightweights and effectiveness, dealing more body shot damage but much less critical hit damage despite sharing the same rate of fire. To narrow this gap, we have increased their critical hit multiplier, which makes them feel more rewarding in skilled hands, and increased their lethality against certain resilience values. Increased critical hit multiplier from 1.44 to 1.5. Crit damage goes from 16.2 to 16.9. We inadvertently skipped Forensic Nightmare when we adjusted the zoom of other SMGs, so we're correcting that oversight. Increased Forensic Nightmare zoom from 13 to 14. Pulse rifles are potent in the current meta for a multitude of reasons. Their effectiveness and ease of use at longer ranges make it harder to close the distance to challenge them with many other weapons. This is especially true on M&K, where the normal effective range is significantly increased by a tighter bullet spread for each burst. The current map rotation, which is scheduled to change in Lightfall for both Comp, Crucible, and Quickplay, heavily favors the range playstyle, and airborne effectiveness has made airborne play more difficult. With those things in mind, we don't want to hit pulse rifles too hard and without first seeing the effects of the other changes on the overall sandbox. But we have reduced the top end range of pulse rifles on all input types and increased their native recoil on M&K to bring their ease of use more in line with controller. These changes should combine to make pulse rifles less effective at longer ranges without hurting players who choose to use them more actively. Reduce aim assist fall off started at 100 range by 10%. Reduce damage fall off started at 100 range by 5%. Increase recoil by 20% on M&K only. BXR Battler is by far the most effective legendary pulse, in large part due to it being extremely strong up close with the legacy frame, intrinsic and highly lethal at long range with best in subfamily zoom. We felt the fantasy of the gun fit better with the CQB hipfire aggressive style of gameplay, so we have brought the zoom down to more closely match standard lightweight pulses, which will open up some space for other options to work. Reduce the zoom in BXR from 20 to 18. The mid-season 18 sidearm aim assist fall off buff had the desired effect of encouraging players on both input devices to experiment with sidearms. After letting the meta settle, sidearms have cemented themselves as very strong contenders in close quarter engagement, but they are exceeding their intended effective range by a small amount. We've walked back the buff slightly to pull them in and give other lower range primary weapons a little more room to thrive. General, reduce the season 18 aim assist fall off distance buff from 30% to 20%. Exotics. Dead Messenger can be impressive to play against, as the triple wave pattern can easily be combined with a number of abilities or other weapons to effectively one-hit a player, so we brought the damage down significantly to make such playstyles less effective. With this change, it has use cases in PvP, and it still hasn't changed at all in PvE, but it is a lot less frustrating to play against. Reduce wave splash damage against players by 35%. I mean, this was a nightmare going against an Arc Warlock with that. Holy, so I'm glad they changed that. Dead Man's Tail tweak in the 6.3.0 update, switching its aiming from preferred body shots to preferred crits, had a much more dramatic effect than expected, obviously. The weapon was initially tuned around the preferred body shots. This meant it had a larger aim assist cone to compensate, and once this was addressed, it spiked in effectiveness. At the same time, a damage penalty for hitting maximum stacks of cranial spike never felt good. We've pulled back various hipfire tuning to make hipfiring at long ranges much harder and remove the cranial spike penalty. Remove the damage penalty for 5 stacks of cranial spike. Reduce hipfire and airborne aim assist cone angles by 25% on M&K. Reduce hipfire cone angle bonus scaling from 20% to 5%. Reduce hipfire precision aim cone angle from 3 degrees to 0.8 degrees. Reduce hipfire auto aim fall off scalar from 1.5 to 1.1. We're now seeing revoker usage increase as more PvP modes have power level removed. The reversal of fortune perk is extremely strong, particularly in combination with certain playstyles. Ultimately, we decided to cap the maximum return on this by requiring multiple misses to return one shot. Now triggers on 2 misses within 6 seconds. Coming in Lightfall, we're doing a heavy weapon balance pass, adding subclass 3.0 verbs to several exotic weapons, tuning kinetic weapons, and adding a new perk to make kinetic weapons more valuable. In post Lightfall seasons, we'll be shipping some updates we're pretty chuffed about. More substantial changes to weapon hipfire reticles, with the goal of exposing more information specific to weapon types or exotic functionality. A full auto melee setting, another set of craftable reprised raid weapons with an origin trait similar to what we did with the Deep Zone equip weapon in Season 19, regular seasonal and mid-season balance updates, and more. We also want to call out one more change, this time about the Titan exotic gauntlets Titan's Ramparts. I know we were all waiting for this. Titan's Ramparts. Increase the cooldown of the barricade ability while Titan Ramparts are equipped by 70%. Increase the amount of damage players deal to a Titan's barricade by 25%. This change should decrease how often one sees the Titan's Rampart in a PvP match, as well as add more opportunities for effective gameplay. Okay, now on to abilities. In patch 6.3.0.5 scheduled to be released this week of January 24. We're releasing some ability changes that we've been playtesting in Lightfall to address some outliers in both PvE and PvP. In the Crucible, class ability uptime has inflated significantly over the course of last year, so we're increasing the base cooldown of Barricade, Thruster, and Dodge by 20%. Increase base cooldown of the following class abilities by 20%. Barricade. Towering Barricade base cooldown increased from 40 seconds to 48. Rally Barricade base cooldown increased 38 seconds to 38. Thruster base cooldown increased from 30 seconds to 36. Dodge. Marksman Dodge base cooldown increased from 29 to 34. Gambler's Dodge base cooldown increased from 38 to 46. With update 6.3.0 at the launch of Season 19, we reduced the linger time of Touch of Thunder's enhanced storm grenades, but this hasn't meaningfully moved the needle on either their potency or usage across game modes. So we're taking a harder swing here. Oh damn, this is what we were all waiting for. We're reducing the damage dealt by each lightning strike by 25% and making it significantly easier to avoid the roaming storm by decreasing its tracking speed and distance, especially near the start of its lifetime. This is sort of bad, but I thought Helm of Inmost Light was going to get the nerf. I'm still expecting that to be nerfed because there's no way that can stay as it is. Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade. Secondary strike damage reduced from 40 to 30. Added a 0.24 delay between the grenade's initial strike on impact and the creation of the roaming storm. The roaming storm's travel speed now begins at 1.5 meters per second and ramps up over 1.3 seconds to a maximum of 3 meters per second. This previously traveled at a flat 3.5 meters per second. The roaming storm's target search range now increases over 2 seconds after creation rather than starting at full size. In August 2021, with update 5.3.0, we added weapon penalties that affected the player while sliding. The goal of this change was to reduce the percentage of engagements where the outcome was effectively decided by sliding, especially when used with shotguns that instantly ended the fight from significant range. Shotguns and other weapons have been tuned since then and have implemented skill-based matchmaking into the Crucible. So we're removing the slide penalties in order to improve the feel and consistency of combat. Remove stability, incoming flinch, and shotgun pellet spread penalties while sliding. It's important to note that these changes are our first step towards where we want to be with ability, potency, and uptime. With Lightfall and beyond, we have large-scale ability balance tuning in the works and we'll have more to share in the future. Known issues? While we continue investigating various known issues, here is a list of the latest issues that were reported to us in our help forum. Players may be unable to crouch after acquiring their first scanner augment in the Operation Seraph's Shield exotic mission. This can be resolved by entering and exiting a menu or remapping keys. We are investigating an increase in Centipede error code. Players are unable to progress the objective in Operation Sancus. To circumvent this, players should restart the mission, move slower, and wait for Rasputin to finish his dialogue before progressing to the next area of the activity. Players are unable to progress the Reshaping the Enigma quest beyond step 6, as well as other weapon crafting quests. Bounty acquisition via the Destiny Companion app is noticeably slow. One last thing, new year, new socials. One goal we have this year is to continue improving how we communicate with our community. In the past, we have relied heavily on community manager accounts to share a lot of information, context, and clarifications. Often it worked great and we saw that many of you appreciated the additional transparency, but it also created some unfun times for community managers or other Bungie employees who shared Destiny 2 specific information from their personal accounts. We want to make sure we are protecting our people without sacrificing opportunities to engage directly with you on various platforms. Today we are creating a D2 team accounts on the following platforms to help us move away from our community managers' personal accounts as we have in the past. These are live now and where you will see us interacting with the community going forward. Our goal is not to share less info or shy away from sharing context or clarifications when possible, but to use the accounts to be more proactive in these efforts and avoid the need to follow and tag several CMs. I mean, what was happening earlier in the year was crazy. The harassment to the community manager just because of nerfing Divinity or stuff like that, that was completely uncalled for from anyone that did that. What about the community managers? I like following them. You're still free to follow me and the rest of the CM gang, as well as other Bungie employees you see out there. We will still be posting memes, sharing cool Destiny art, and having fun at our personals. But if you want answers to questions or a good avenue to share your Destiny 2 specific feedback, the D2 team accounts are the new hotness. Another goal we have going forward is to more actively solicit feedback regularly using these accounts like we did recently on Reddit, but on all 3 platforms. You don't have to wait for a post though. You can share your feedback anytime and you will be able to tag any of the D2 team accounts if you have something you want us to see and not feel the need to tag several CM accounts. We have a few posts up right now on Bungie, Reddit, and Twitter asking for feedback right now, so go share. After finishing this Twab, of course. Bungie Help is still going to be the primary place for updates on maintenance, outages, and ongoing issues being tracked. I mean, Bungie Help helps me to my day-to-day and every week. Destiny the Game is where we will drop the latest game trailers and high-level Destiny 2 news. The plan with the new Destiny 2 team accounts is to give us another avenue to give deeper insight on certain topics and a means to interacting on Bungie.net and Reddit more. Expect to see a lot more replies on those platforms going forward. And there we go, second Twab of 2023 in the books. These are a few more of these handy Twabs before Lightfall, including more on Strand, upcoming economy changes, and more. You can also look forward to special Strand alone articles from different developer teams, like the one mentioned above that dove into build crafting. which will offer more insight for those that want it and keep Twab a little more focused on the hub of info without drowning in word count. Think informed, but not a panic. I don't want to read a 10,000 word blog post type of way, you know. More to come, but for now, make sure you're drinking that water, prioritizing that self-care, and remember to always lead with your kindness foot forward. See you next week. A very long Twab with a lot of information. We're getting our dodges reduced in PvP from Hunter and from Warlock, whether it's the dodge or the barricade. Titan's Ramparts is basically obsolete now. You'll see no one using it. You do more damage to their barricade, and their barricade cooldown is even more now. Dead Man's Tail is getting a heavy nerf. Pulse rifles are taking a nerf, but I think just enough of a nerf to still make it usable, but maybe not make it a top meta for PvP. Adaptive SMGs are becoming better in Crucible, and a lot of airborne effectiveness changes for Strand that is coming in Lightfall. Freelance mode might be obsolete now. We might not be seeing that at all in the coming seasons. Who knows, maybe even at the beginning of Lightfall we might not even be seeing it. Exotic glaives are getting changed, so once you acquire one you can get all of them. Blues are gone. There will be no more rares as of Lightfall after you hit the soft cap, which is something we've been asking for months now. And the increase in red borders, we did just make a video on that, so make sure to check that out. But the increase in red border drop rates, obviously going into Lightfall as well with the new raid, that should help out get red borders done quickly and efficiently. The only concern I have is getting them actually leveled up to level 16. They need to bring back the dawning strategy. Make it double completion at the end of every activity. That made leveling up weapons so fast. Leveling up during the dawning was the best time. And that's about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Twab. I feel like we might get, in the next couple of weeks, we might get a Twab and a little pre-teaser Twab, because they don't want to make these Twabs super long. So we gotta stay on the lookout for the Wednesdays now to see if they update, to see if they release like a pre-teaser Twab based on some of the sandbox changes and stuff like that. A bit of a more in-depth look. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care and peace.